Hey, it's Stone Pimp again with part two out of two of my Crysis review. Um, right off the bat, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the feedback that I've been getting on part one. Um, Pretty much, it was all very encouraging. It's all pretty good feedback. I was very pleased and that you guys wanted me to continue because I had pretty much fun with the first part, and well, I'm amped to get on with the second part. I think it's about been a week since I did my last one, so I think this could become a Sunday night procedure based on how many games I'm playing and completing. Right now, I'm actually focusing on Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, which I just spanked, and now I'm working on Exodus. Great games. But I guess let's just go ahead and talk about. Wait. Before I talk about Crysis, I wanted some of your thoughts on possibly doing a kind of an innovative video review format. One of the advantages I've seen splitting this into two parts is that in one I can play the game, show you the game, talk about the game, and you guys can respond to my, maybe controversial views or things you don't agree with, possibly that, maybe that don't apply to your style of playing the game. I'll talk a little bit more about this as I go in the review, but I can do that in part one, and then in part two, I can respond to some of your feedback and talk about, and mention your name, of course, and talk about what you thought or disagreed with my review or praise or anything that feedback that you wanted to give it. I think that could be going for something pretty cool and innovative. I've never seen a video review do that before, so it'll kind of be like viewer mail or something. I don't know. But anyway, let's get to the main juice. Crysis. I left off without giving it a score. I know that for a fact, and I kind of left off in the middle of talking about some of the gameplay aspects. Um, the gameplay revolves a lot around the nanosuit, and as I mentioned before, and I will not change my mind on this because I'm a stubborn bastard, what ends up usually happening is I will put on active camouflage or stealth mode or whatever the hell the nanosuit calls it, and I will sneak in, kill a few guys, hide behind a corner, and recharge, repeat, refresh, whatever I gotta do. And this is pretty much, this is lasts pretty much throughout the first half of the game. It's very fun. Do not get me wrong. Going from camp to camp, killing guys, sneaking in, scoping them out with your binoculars, but it eventually gets monotonous. You know what to expect and whatnot. This kind of lasts until beware of spoiler words. Spoil alert, by the way. But this lasts until you get to the part where you're exploring the alien spaceships and whatnot. When you discover, they're this is what the Koreans are kind of after, is this alien technology, and they don't know how to harness it. But then you eventually find that the aliens are alive in this island, and the aliens aren't quite what I expected. I was thinking more like maybe the Vortigrunts of a Half-Life 2, or the elites off of Halo with the grunts, as kind of by their side, that had real good personalities, real fun to fight. It just, they weren't anything like that. The aliens in this game are kind of squids that fly through the air. Kind of, they have their tentacles and their suction cups and the whole shebang. You just shoot them out of the air, they kind of land on the ground and blow up. There's not really too much to their AI other than, they fly around and kind of shoot this laser gun at you, which you're actually able to obtain later on in the game. So yes, you do get the alien laser gun, which is pretty cool. But throughout this, there's no stealth element to the game. There's no open-ended. The game in the later half becomes more, scripted, which is okay because it involves you in the story a lot more, and the story unfolds as you're in this late phase of the game, but it just becomes a lot less, of what you expect Crysis to be, more like a Far Cry-ish inspired game. But in the later half, it's definitely not. It's its own thing. It's more like your Halo or your Half-Life 2, of course. But a little bit, it's disappointing that the aliens turned out to be what they were. I would almost say, just because they don't really have their own personalities. They don't really talk to you, and they're just kind of otherworldly, quote unquote. I mean, obviously, but they're just nothing like what you'd expect from maybe like Alien vs Predator, and I was disappointed in that. Maybe others weren't, and I'd like to hear your feedback on that. It's just not something I would expect out of a top quality game. But like you'll see on screen right about now, fighting the aliens in the air. It's fun. It really changes the game up. A lot of graphical technologies used. It's a lot of fun. Even though there's certain aspects that I will talk about that I just didn't enjoy, the overall content in the game is still very enjoyable. It's a lot faster pace at the end. Talk about one of the comments, speaking of which, I got about my first part of the review. Ill Magnified mentioned, "Dude, I use strength almost second to most. With melee, recoil, sniping, power pot shots with my rifle in strength mode will take a guy down in a few shots. Strength with a combination of speed where you hit and run makes this very fast-paced game. It all depends on how you play it." That's a good point, because everyone has their own play style, and I tend, to be kind of biased toward my own play style, well, because that's the way I play the game, and I would have never ever thought of just having it as a run and gun game. I saw it more like I did Far Cry, where I was sneaking in, using a little sabotaging maybe some vehicles, putting on a silencer and killing guys, picking them off one by one, and then once they noticed I was there, I'd only have a few enemies left, so I'd just gun them down. Well, using a combination of strength and speed, that's an interesting, view, and that's an interesting way to play, and maybe it worked for him, but that's neat, because I guess the suit maybe does allow for different gameplay styles. I never thought of it like that. I was just thinking that the way I played was probably the way others played, because it was just so easy. But that's it could open up new gameplay elements that way. I mean, you could maybe speed run through the game. There's a lot almost replayability here, because in the first half of the game, like I said, it's so open-ended, and you could try things differently every time. And there's so much to explore here that after going through a second time and starting to play it again, I realized there's so much that I missed. There's so many different directions you can take, and I just want to emphasize that so much. By the way, thank you for that comment, Ill Magnified. I hope you're able to catch part 2. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and I guess wrap this up here. It's just about 8 minutes and 10 seconds. What would I give Crysis, based on everything I just mentioned? Which I didn't actually mention sound, which I should probably go ahead and mention that it's cliche FPS sound. It's pretty much the standard for today's FPSs. You couldn't expect anything better than what Call of Duty 4 had, or maybe Battlefield series would have. It's just pure war. It's very good, but it comes expected. It's expected of an FPS to have this quality of sound nowadays, I would say. So based on everything, let's give this a second go. Based on everything, I would give Crysis a 9.1. Why would I give it a 9.1? Well, 9.1 out of 10. That's good. But comparing it to other reviews, maybe not as good as maybe PC Gamer or maybe GameSpot gave it. Why do I give it a 9.1? Well, all 9.1 of those points, or at least 9.0 of those points, are because the game is fun. Plain and simple fun. But why not higher? Maybe like a 9.5 or upwards of 9.8. That's mainly because like I said before, I found the game a little bit monotonous, and well, I want to hear from you. I gotta wrap it up now, so leave your feedback, guys. Appreciate it.